Hey, what's up, people? This is Oda Tenchi, and I am back for another TMNT Rant Rave review for this week's episode entitled Mutagen Man Unleashed. So it starts out with the Turtles basically discovering classic anime. They're watching this Go Lion parody, this AKA Voltron parody, and the two of the characters remind them of April and Donnie, with Donnie having these feelings towards April that aren't really being reciprocated, and they make a joke about it. So he goes back into the lab and he goes back onto his work, and as he's working on what he wants to be an anti-mutagen for Timothy, aka the Pulverizer, who is now who has been a pile of mutant goo since last season, and he's basically pouring out his heart towards him because, like he says in the episode, he's a good listener, because that's all he can do. So while he's doing that, he makes him a voice box, and hearing him speak through this old speaker is creepy. It's very creepy because he speaks really slow, like, I like April, Donnie. I know they're in the circumstances, given the circumstances. What would you expect his voice to sound like? But it's still kind of creepy to hear that voice coming out of that speaker, and the fact that he has you find out that he pretty much has developed a taste for more mutagen. And as Donnie is experimenting with more stuff, when he, with the mutagen that they find on the street, Timothy begins to guzzle it down like water. He has, his mouth tentacle, not tentacle, but what would you want to, basically, yeah, that's what it is. So his, mouth tentacle, suction cup looking mouth, is guzzling down this mutagen like water, and it's having it's affecting him in a crazy way. Like, how would more mutagen affect a mutant? Well, this is actually a perfect example of that because he needs that to thrive. As Donnie is talking about April and spilling his heart out to Timothy, Timothy develops this kind of feeling like he needs to get April O'Neil. He needs to find her. So he breaks out of the lair by basically going. He grows hands and feet and just stomps right through a wall, just punches right through a wall, and goes on a hunt for April. As he's doing this, he's basically asking people left and right, where is April O'Neil? While April O'Neil is at school, trying to get her life together, trying to get some extra credit at school, and she's tutoring Casey Jones. This is actually Casey's debut. Now, when I first saw a clip of what Casey was going to look like, and I first saw a picture, just like I've said in a past video before, a lot of people did not like the design. They did not like the look. They did not like the fact that he was a teenager. Blah 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 blah. Because if you look at him, he just looks like he just looks like a regular kid, like regular biker looking kid, with messed up teeth, and he doesn't and he says he doesn't really get along with school. He's not mean in any way. He's just a kid acting like a kid. I mean, he's got that hockey player mentality. That's probably why a lot of his teeth, if you looked at the detail in his teeth, they're cracked. So it kind of goes well with his character, in my opinion. But he's far from a punk. Because he comes to April's rescue during the time where they're getting chased by Mutagen Man, due to the fact that Mutagen Man has now developed an unhealthy obsession with finding April. And Donnie is blaming himself because he's like, I spilled my heart out to him, and that's probably why he feels this way. But it's not just that. The Mutagen Man feels that the reason why he's like this is because of the turtles, and he basically is angry towards them. And it's you feel for him. You feel for him. I mean, it wasn't his fault it wasn't their fault that he ended up this way. But at the same time, you kind of feel for him because he's this way and he doesn't exactly know what he's doing. At the same time, he's almost killed April and the Turtles multiple times during the course of this episode alone. And it's just it's wow. I mean, his powers, as long as he has enough mutagen, is basically he's crazy strong. He has his limbs are made out of acid, like an acid compound, and obviously he can turn it on and off because if you notice, he punches he punches and Casey, and smacks around April at one point, and neither one of them, nothing on them starts dissolving or anything. But if he just wills it to, he can, his body is pretty much acid. So he almost killed Raph at one point. But Donnie also discovered that combined with another type of chemical, he can actually make things instantly freeze, kind of like liquid nitrogen, and so that's what he basically does to subdue Mutagen Man. So you have, and another thing I just got to point out, there is more people this time around. Because in the first time we ever saw April go to school in the first season, it was just her. Since it was just to add effect, it was just her, and that Krang droid was after her, and you saw no one else in the school. Now you're seeing background characters, you're seeing people walk around, So we're seeing more and more people as the show progresses. So I know that's like a little change, but it's a welcomed one. You know what I'm saying? It felt kind of weird being in the middle of New York and really not seeing anybody. I accepted it, but still. But anyway, altogether, I like this episode. So, what do you think of this episode? What do you think of Mutagen Man? How do you feel for him in the whole thing? Do you think he's creepy? Do you think he's a nice character, or just a way to sell toys? You know what I'm saying? Because that's reminiscing of the old show. And Casey, I know a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about Casey Jones. So let's just talk about Casey Jones. What do you think about him so far? Do you think that that he just looks like a punk kid? Do you think he's a welcome? He's obviously a welcome addition to the show. Do you like the design of Casey, or do you just not care? Either way, me, I'm like, hey. Yes, he's aged down. Just like I said before, he's aged down because April is aged down. He's a little bit of a rebel. You know what I'm saying? What would you expect? And he is far from a punk. He tried to take on Mutagen Man, and we saw April using her training on Mutagen Man. And that, even though that was very short, that one scene was very fast, and and very very awesome. That's about all I can say about that. But anyway, I don't want this video to run too long. So what do you think about Casey Jones? What do you think about Mutagen Man? And what do you think about this episode in general? Comment below, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, love, and never be normal.